Now, I told myself before 2013 ends, I need to start a show by juggling, legitly. It's not gonna work, is it? It's fine until you get the Minecraft sword in there. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Vox Gaming. Here to talk about all kinds of gaming news that I hope you find interesting. So first up this week, EVE Online, you guys had a 2800 ship battle go on. That's pretty normal when it's planned, but this was an accident. When the Goon Swarm accidentally lost a Titan while building a warp going into Reddit Alliance territory. Highly hostile. And what happened? Well, backup had to go save it. Then they were all like, oh snap, they're in our territory. And then it was all like, oh dang, 3,000 ship battle. Something like this reminds me why I'm happy I stopped EVE Online, because that takes months to do and prepare for. But when it happens accidentally, it's kind of even more awesome. Now let's talk some MMO news, because Terra Online going free has now outlined their free-to-play model and how it's going to work, especially since a lot of people dump some money into it. Well, if you bought a box or a digital copy, you are now a founder. You get 8 character slots, a special title, and a special mount. Then there's going to be subscribers now who are 2 character slot limits, shorter dungeon cooldowns, and more auction slots. But they also get bonus daily items. Now I gotta say, it's great to see this go free-to-play, because it's a great looking game, to be honest. That has nothing to say about the gameplay or how you feel about it, but nevertheless, it's pretty. So if you're looking to get your hands on it, it's going to be free to play in February. Okay, now last week I was talking about a ton of open beta games. Well, now Path of Exile had their open beta, and they had 57,000 people playing that game, so it's basically out now at this point. Last week I also talked about a ton of MOBA news. Now, Heroes of Newerth, if you guys remember that, it's 2 years old. It's getting a huge kind of re-release because they're redoing all the textures and a lot of the client-side stuff. One of the biggest changes is adding bots now to this, which you guys know from League of Legends. And I gotta say, MOBA games are probably one of the hardest things for players to get into because it's a steep learning curve. How many of you guys play them out there, no matter what kind it is? So basically, they had an old game and they're just like, let's revitalize this because they still have a pretty good community over there. Even if it's full of elitists that report you for being bad at the game. Which, in more MOBA news, a game called Smite went open beta last week, and they have a bunch of changes as well that were added to this, which now lets you do tactical picks, so you can only pick one character while nobody else can pick that one either, so you really have to know each character. So in other words, just really counter picking, and in other words, making these old games live up to what League of Legends is now, and new MOBA games coming out to be exactly like League of Legends. Just like I was talking about Blizzard last week, yeah, they're making their own version, which is League of Legends. And even more beta news, Cryptic has just announced Neverwinter's closed beta. And you guys can go ahead and be a part of it and buy your way in for the low price of $60. Or $200 for a founder's pack. $60 is going to give you closed beta access, a head start to open beta, a title, an armored horse mount, a mask, and a dire wolf companion pet. For $200, you get closed beta access, a bigger head start to open beta, an exclusive race closed beta code for a buddy, spider mount, a panther companion pet, and priority access to the game. But for $20, you can get no access to closed beta whatsoever, no pets, 12 slots in your inventory though, and a few in-game items with no name yet. So it's kind of like the runt of the litter there. Now for some interesting news, did you guys know that China has had a ban on game consoles since 2000? Well, they have. Don't question any of that, what I just said. Well, that may be lifted, and you may be able to play Mario in China. Not like you really want to, but who cares? Because recently, China just gave an award certification to the PS3, which is kind of random because they just make them there. They don't do anything else with them, like play them. So basically, all this news comes from somebody in the ministry going, hey, we're gonna lift the ban. And meanwhile, somebody else is like, no. And then we may have it. What's also interesting is last year, somebody snuck an Edu ET-SEN54903 system into the Chinese market, which is kind of like an Xbox Kinect, which the company got away with it because they dubbed it as an exercise machine. Could we see the PS3 and the Xbox being called that? Maybe. Alright guys, that's it for the gaming news for today. Be sure to check out throughout the rest of the week for even more stuff, and also the 200,000 subscriber video. Yeah, we're doing a bunch of giveaways. That's it for me, guys. I'm Vox, and as always, I will see you in game. Tomahawk explosion to you.